Hey class. One of the things that you have to be able to do in AnyLogic is send messages out to different agents. And there's a couple of things that are built in. They're very easy and quick to use. And there's other things that require a little bit more coding gymnastics. So what I'm going to do first is show you some of the different kinds of ways you can talk to other agents. And then we're going to take a small break and then go and take a look at the code that would make all of those things happen. So very first thing is I've got this model that has three different types of agents. We have lights, which are just represented by the little people. We have boards that are represented by the rectangulars. And then we have a unique controller. So it's one of a kind. So if I go over here and use my tool, I can say red. And if I click on all, there's a message that'll send, there's a command that'll send a message to all of the agents. And so here we see all the agents have turned red. Now I can go on and set them all black again. And that's pretty nice, right? If you only have one type of agent, all works great. If you have multiple agents, all can be problematic if they're all listening to the same kinds of messages. However, if, for instance, lights don't listen to the same messages as boards do, sending it to all of them, while it might be a waste of resources, it won't cause a problem in your model. Okay, second one we have is random. So if I press this, one of these agents will turn red at random. And so here we can see that a little person has turned red. If we keep hitting this, we'll eventually see that one of these boards will turn red. And that's because it's random among all agents. So this one's a little bit more dangerous. If you need a random light to turn on, this technique by itself won't work because it would be looking at other agents, like the boards, the controllers, or there could be other things there. So when you've got multiple agents, that random is not a great thing to do. Okay. Next up, we've got, this is more coding gymnastics. So here I wanted to send a message to all of the lights that are black. And so we see that we have a couple of red ones, and I'm going to turn them all blue, except for those that were already red. Okay. The last one I want to do is this near board. So this is all the boards that are near the controller. I'm going to turn red. And we can see those were affected, but the others were not. Okay, so here's four kind of like normal examples, and you can build off of them. What we're going to do next is go over to the coding half of this and take a look at how we could accomplish those things. Okay, let's take a look at how we wrote the code for each of those. Inside my controller, I went on and used these functions. Functions allow you to define code that you can reuse over and over again. So you can imagine situations where you want to send to a particular subset, and that might be a little complicated to write. So if you create a function, you can use it over and over again. And that's what we did here. So the very first one is the send all. And this is the easiest of all of them. We just say send to all, we give it the message, and every agent is going to get a copy of this message. So once again, if you've only got one population, that works great. If only one population is listening to that message, it'll still work, but it might be a little slower. The random is also pretty simplistic. We just say send to random, we provide a color, or we provide a message rather, and all of them get that same message. Now, the thing about this is that if you've got more than one population, remember that it'll be sending one message to one agent. So if you don't want agents in other populations getting a message, this one won't work for you. You would need to do it by hand, where you would go through and collect the agents you want, and then randomly pick one and then send to them directly. So let's talk about some of the more complex ones. Here we've got sending to the black lights. So I did it in 2 steps, although most examples you'll see online will do it all in one big long line. I have a hard time reading it, so I like to break it up. So the first thing that I did is I went and thought about which collection I wanted to grab it from. So I wanted to grab it from the lights collection. So I have that here in my filter. And I knew that if they are colored black, that they are going to be in the black state. And so this is a pretty common thing to put in here. We could add other code where we would, maybe we wanted to say it's in the black state and there's a parameter that has a particular value, right? We can ask those questions and have a more complex filter. But at the end of all this, we'll do the filter. And so what it'll do is for each one of these lights, it's going to run this code. And if it's true, it keeps it. And if it's false, it doesn't keep it. All of those lights that are good, that are in the black, we're going to store in targets. Now the type for this is a list, and then it's just going to be light. Now keep in mind that the collection is called lights, but the agent type is just light. So keep those things straight as you're working your way through it. So finally, once I've got a list of what I want to work with, I can just say, hey, for L and targets, send my color out. And so this will go to each one separately and fire off a message. Okay, the last one is the nearest boards. I started the same way. I grabbed all the main.boards and I used agents in range. And this basically starts from where your agent is located and goes out to this particular range. And it does a sweep, does a circle. And so my targets are now going to be all those boards that are close by. And then we do the same thing with the for loop. We're going to send it out to each of them so that they will turn the appropriate color. Okay. I hope this was helpful. Hope this was something that made it a little easier to understand not only how it's sending out messages, but how you can leverage it to get the question that you're wanting to ask answered. Okay, I'll see y'all in class.